Well, a very warm welcome to Dusty Shelf. I hope I find you well, and I'm going to talk about this box that I bought at the exhibition last weekend at the museum. So I was up in Ipswich, and it was right at the end of the day, and I was walking around. I saw this on the desk, and I had a quick look inside, and there's some carriages and a train. And at the time, when I looked at the train, I thought to myself that that's it's a homemade train. I thought I could do something with it. So I bought it, and when I got it home, it's actually quite a little gem. So let's talk through, first of all, the box. I think this box is absolutely wonderful. Look at the corners on it. They just don't make boxes like this anymore, do they? And it's got like the wax oil across the surface. But anyway, let's get inside. Rabbiting on. Now, the newspaper in here is from the 1970s. There are a couple of vintage carriages that are begging to be restored. In fact, to be honest with you, they're in such lovely condition, I'm probably going to leave those as is. There's 2 or 3 coaches. These are just a couple that are still in there. There's probably, I say 2 or 3, there's probably 4 or 5 little trucks in there. I say coaches, a couple of trucks in there. But this is the loco that I saw in the bottom of the box. Now, just put it on its side for a moment. Now, when I had a quick look in the museum, I saw the 2 plungers on the tender, as you can see here. And as I say, I thought to myself, well, it's a die cast, it's very, very heavy, it's die cast. I thought, well, this has to be, somebody's go at a white metal kit or something. And I thought, well, I can't see a middle third rail there, so maybe it's 2 rail. There's definitely a couple of plungers on there. I thought, well, whatever it is, I can definitely do something with that and get it running. So I brought it home and started scratching my head, because looking underneath, I started seeing things like cogs on the side of the wheels and these little drive cogs. And then when I moved the motion, I noticed that there's a universal joint running through into the tender. And then lifting off the tender, the universal joint runs through quite an elaborate gear mechanism into, well, what looks like a rectifier. I mean, I have no idea. Some sort of motor. And I scratched my head for quite some time on this one. Then made my way onto the internet, did searches on black locos with universal joints, still nothing. And at this point, I took it through, showed it to my wife and said, can you see anything on here that would tell me what it is? And she spotted in the black paint just under here a word that said Graham. And yeah, lo and behold, this is a Graham Fairish loco, which gave me the lead to look up exactly what this is. So I think around 1949 to 1950, maybe 1 or 2. And it is one of the first, or is the first, 2-rail 00 loco to hit the market in the UK. And yeah, it's got quite a wonderful background story to it, and an absolutely amazing mechanism in it. Now, monetary wise, I paid £60 for this and another 00 loco, and so let's say this was 30 quid. They're not worth any money. I've looked them up. The 35 pounds. So I haven't bought a bargain here in terms of monetary value. But in terms of interest and just sheer wonderful uniqueness, I'm just over the moon with this. It's probably one of the most special locos that I've got. But I mean, I've never seen anything like this. I didn't know of its existence until this arrived. I think it's truly wonderful. I'm really looking forward to getting into this. Now, obviously, somebody's painted in these red marks on the side, so my first job will be to take those off. And I was hoping this video was going to be a complete restoration of it, but I've been looking at the motor on the back here, and apart from not really understanding it fully, we'll go through this in a moment, it's all riveted together, and I'm sure that I'm not going to disturb anything on here. I'm going to basically clean this with the cleaning fluid, with the spray fluid, the contact cleaner, give it a really good clean, really good service, and hopefully see it running. So what I'm going to do, before we start all of that, let's take it over to the track. I'll show you what it's doing, then we'll come back and I'll show you what I found out about the loco. Right, we'll start out the box. Let me just put a little bit of power on there. You see it's trying to move. A little bit jerky. It's not too bad actually. Now there's two things to note. You can see this area here sort of jumping around, but also at the back here. Now if I just rotate the motor, what you'll see is the mechanism rocking back and forth, changing the contacts to either side. And then this little bit here at the front appears to be a centrifugal clutch. So if I do it again and just apply the power, you can see how it's trying to move. Which way is it going to go? No, it's not going to go that way. Let's try the other way. It's desperate to get some power through. It's to do with where the motor is positioning. Once the motor goes past a certain position, it's then picking up and running. So hopefully, with just a light clean, this may spark completely back to life. But as I said, I think the first thing to do is to get rid of all this red paint, get the body off of here, and just give everything a really good clean. Fresh oil, and yeah, see if we can get it running a little bit better. Well, I've just changed the board over for something a little bit older because it's going to get a little bit messy, I think. Right, let's undo the tender. Okay. And the drive shaft just detaches like so. So square pin into a square driver there. Okay, that's fairly straightforward. Get the pony truck off. And let's take the body off of this. Right, I'm just going to put the screws somewhere safe. Put them up on there for now. Okay, so what have we got here then? So it's quite simple. We have a universal drive. It's just quite simply running down to a gear in the centre there and driving the drive wheels. And these would sit up on here. So very, very simple mechanism. There's not really a lot to it, is there? I think, as I said, just a very good clean may bring this back to life. So I think what I'm going to do, start with this, with getting the paint off of here. Now to remove the paint, I'm going to try and use this, which is Painkiller by Carson. I've been using this on a few projects recently, and it's just basically paint remover, but it does a fantastic job. So I'm going to try and do that very gently, just with a cotton bud. Clean these bits off, get rid of this red paint, and then I'm going to take this through and give this all a really good clean, and then we'll turn our attention to the tender. As I say, with the tender, I really don't want to do too much to this. I'm just worried about disturbing it, and you can see these rivets just here where it's all riveted together. I think if I try and undo any of that, it's going to be an absolute disaster. So yeah, we'll keep it all together. I'm not going to try and strip it down. I'm just going to give it a really good clean, and then a nice clean, good oil all over. Well, believe it or not, it's taken me about 2 hours to remove the paint over there, but it does look much better and certainly running smoother even without any oil on. So I'm going to put that to one side before I knock the mechanism off again. And yeah, let's get the red paint off of these, and then I'm going to go and give this clean in some soapy water, and then we'll just touch in the paint on the buffer and maybe pick out the cab sides. We'll see. You can see with this paint remover how effective it is. Use it on a very localized area and just gradually take the paint back. But it just takes a little while. Gotta be patient with it. These are actually brass under here. That's much better, look. They're already coming back to life. That's brought those up lovely. Okay, let's do the chimney. See if we can get this to come up the same. I've given that a clean and it's come up rather nicely, but there's a couple of areas where loose paint's come away, so I'm just going to touch those areas in very gently with just some of this flat black paint from Tamiya. Cleaned the sides off of the chassis. They've come out. I was going to repaint those, but I think I'll actually leave those. I might do this side. We'll see. Don't know. I'll see how they dry, and then I want to give this a clean with some electrical cleaner, but we'll come back and do that in a moment. Let's first of all paint in some of these areas. Right, well that's the body kind of cosmetically restored, touched in with the paint at least anyway. Just going to give this a tiniest bit of oil on the loco here, just on all the moving parts. A little bit on the drive as well. Tiny bit of oil down the back of the cog and down this side. I've misplaced my oiling pen, which is really annoying, so I'm using the oil straight out of the pot today. I don't know where I've put it. Right, let's drop this body back on and then I'll oil the rest of it. So this just slides over the top like that and holds the mechanism in, and then the screw comes in from underneath. I am going to touch these in with paint as well. Cylinders. Right. Okay. Let's just give the mechanism a little oil. It does look a lot better without the red paint on there. On this side. Get the pony truck back on, and then off camera I'm just going to touch in those cylinders, and that's basically the loco complete. Right, let's have a quick look at the tender now. As I say, I've got no plans to take this apart, so I'm just going to give this a good spray through with the cleaner. Now the cleaner I'm using, although made by WD-40, is a contact cleaner. And I'm just going to really just give this a good clean through. Not really much else I can do. Okay, there we go. I'll just leave that to dry, I think. Right, and a gentle oil on here, in the moving components. A tiny bit at the front here. Right, let me just go and give this a little test run. Well, it's very difficult for me to explain how excited I am by this loco. I think it's an absolute mechanical wonder, and I'm just blown away by it. Very, very exciting find for me, and yeah, it's quite difficult to film this because I need to support the drive shaft here. But I'm just going to apply a little bit of power, and you can see how the clutch is working there. See, it's picking up just here, picking up as the magnets spin onto the clutch, and then as the power reduces they disengage and the drive shaft stops. So, and it is important to note when the motor doesn't stop at its zero position, you do have to rock to get the motor started again. But isn't that wonderful? Look at the rocking at this end. It's rocking between the two contacts. You can see the crank arm in the middle. Now there you can see the magnets have stopped top and bottom, so they're not quite picking up on their zero position. So the magnets need to pick up on the bits of metal to put the motor back into its start position. And if they do stop out of sync, then you do have to give the motor a little bit of a nudge to get it working again. That house is what a wonderful, wonderful find, and a fascinating piece of kit. Well, the final step was to take this through and give this a clean with soapy water, so that's all done. That can drop back onto the tender. And I wanted to paint in the numbers, and I've tried this twice. My hand just isn't steady enough, so I'm going to need to get a little paint marker to paint those in, rather than trying to do it with a paintbrush. So that'll have to wait till another day, but the loco, actually, without the red paint on there, does look rather nice and ready to go back together. So I've got the drive pin here with a square shaft, and yeah, the socket on this side. Those two will drop back together, and I'll drop the screw back in. But before I do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the engine. Well, jumping right back to the beginning of the video, when I first opened the box I had no idea what this was, and as I say, I thought it was somebody's attempt at a kit built model out of white metal, and it was only when I asked my wife to have a look that she noticed underneath here the Graham Fairish lettering just underneath the cab side there. And a little bit of search on the internet revealed virtually nothing on these. There's just one for sale for about £30, in an awful condition actually. But I then pulled out my Ramsey's guide, which is, you know, I'm sure everybody is aware on the channel, this is the Bible for model railways. And in here, when I looked up Graham Fairish, there's quite an interesting couple of reads in here. So I spent a bit of time reading through this, and a couple of things I found out that I didn't know, that during the Second World War, Graham Fairish made hand grenades, for example. But down the bottom here is the first note about the GP5 train set of 1949 with their Black 5 locomotives, which were Britain's first two-rail, ready-to-run double-O gauge electric model railway. So I believe this is the first two-rail double-O gauge model that was for sale in the UK. And indeed, if I turn over the page to Hornby Dublo, it says down here the possibility of two-rail electric system had been discussed as early as 1938, but was not adopted until 1959. So this predates the two-rail Hornby Dublo by, well, 7 years, maybe even more, maybe 11 years if you go to the original 1949 date that's on here. Now I turn over the page and it gives some more detail about the locomotive. So the first locomotive, an LMS Black 5, was initially available only in train sets. As a scale model, it was not bad for the time, even if mechanically poor and lacking a good finish, and not helped by the embossed cabside numbers. Had a decent body, but a plastic tender, which indeed this one does, and it was claimed it was designed to BRMBS standards. I don't know what that is, I'm afraid, so somebody will, I'm sure, fill in the blanks on that. And it's been suggested that some of the components were war surplus. The book then goes on to say the tender drive motor unit of this model, as well as the Bullet King and Huntsman locomotives, was revolutionary. It consisted of an enclosed permanent magnet rotor with 2 coils of wire both above and below, which in turn were connected by 2 contact blades which oscillated via a rotary shaft between the 4 electrical contacts. These were connected by 2 electrical plunger pickups situated below the tender frames, just here, and 2 pieces of steel rods were situated either side of the coils, which in theory return the rotor to the starting point. So let's just go through that very quickly. So on the tender here, we've got this oscillating mechanism on the back here, which changes the polarity. We've got a clutch system here, and these are the 2 pieces of metal. Now if I just rotate the motor just to one side and just give it a little bit of bias, you can see that it drops back to its neutral position. So these 2 little magnets here are picking up on these bits of metal either side to return this back to its sort of starting position. And as it mentioned, here are the spring pickups underneath the tender. The drive from the tender was via a sprung drive and centrifuge clutch to reduction gears, and by pinion shaft to the locomotive's driving wheels. So we've got in here the clutch, and we'll see in a moment, as this rotates, the centrifuge pulls the weights of the magnets out, they pick up on the clutch, and then you've got the reduction gearbox here down into the drive, which then drives into the locomotive wheels, picking up on the drive here, and with the cog underneath there, as we've already seen as I strip down the model. So an absolutely wonderful little model here that I am finding absolutely fascinating. And I think the key thing to say about this is a brushless motor with the mechanical system, rather than our current day brushless motors, which use electronics for the timing. So without the brushes in here, normally on a conventional brushed motor, you know, the brushes would pick up on the different parts of the armature to give the different polarities. This is using this kind of rotary system on the top here. Just switch the current either side. You can just about make it out there. Let me just rotate that around a couple of times, and you can see the electrical contact moving left to right there. So yeah, a brushless motor from just after the Second World War. Well, I hope you forgive me, but I don't particularly want to run this too much around the main track. I am a little bit worried about, you know, the motor stopping working. It does feel very fragile, actually, and given the, I guess, the rarity of this, I've never seen one before, and I don't want to risk it getting it broken or something going wrong with it. So I'm not going to run it around the track at speed and just leave it as is. But you can see I am running it backwards and forwards on the test track here, so yeah, a little bit of a service. It is functioning, and I'm absolutely over the moon with it. I'm so fascinated by it, and as the thumbnail alluded to, I mean, is this the genesis of 1/76 scale model railways? Or certainly 2 rail model railways in the UK, I don't know. I mean, according to the guidebook it is, and if so, what a wonderful thing to have in my collection. I'm so pleased with it, and yeah, as I keep saying, absolutely fascinated by the mechanism in there. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and why not check out the channel? Lots on there. If you can subscribe, you'd do me a really big favour. Really does help out with the algorithm on YouTube, and yeah, I'm trying to grow the channel, and it's not being very successful at the moment. So yeah, if you can subscribe, you'd be helping me out, helping the channel out. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up and just say thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.